Welcome to lecture 9, and this is the reasons for asking these questions. And obviously the questions I'm referring to is in the last lecture: what kind of a person does it take to become? And there's a motivation, really. There is a reason for asking these questions, because whenever you try to make progress, it's not that you want to look on the negative side of things, but you will encounter some sort of obstacle or a problem that you face. And this is the point of asking these questions, is because that when you face that, a lot of people can just sort of hit an obstacle and say, do you know what, and they give up. But when you ask these questions, as to say things like, what does it take to become a failure? Or what does it take to become a successful person? So when you run into a problem, then, you won't just back off. So for example, you see on the graphic here, so let's say that the wall is the problem. And you come and meet it and it says, go over this wall. And, the wall is so high that you can't get it. And it's just, it just represents any kind of problem that we face that we don't know the answer to. And sometimes what we do, we stop there and say, oh, because I can't get over this wall, I just wait until something happens, until the wall falls over or something like that, or, if I'm meeting a certain problem, if I've got a dream, and I was going for finance or something, and it didn't come through, so now I've just got to settle and just live a life that I don't want to. But there's always another way. And so you can see here, where the arrow has gone underneath the wall and got past the obstacle. And that's the reasons for asking these questions, because then it gives you the drive, it gives you more of a focus to sort of, when you meet the problem, then you're not just going to say, oh well, I'll just sit down and give up. I'll just go and put the TV on, or I'll go and watch a film, and just escape into that world for an hour just to forget about the problem. You don't want to forget about the problem. What you want to do is adjust your thinking so that when you meet it, the problem is now meeting a different person. It's not meeting a person who's now sort of saying, oh, well, I'm going to, give up at the first hurdle, because then that really what it does, it shows how deep the desire is in your heart. And if the desire isn't that deep, when you come up against a problem and you trip over it, or you'll just say, oh, do you know what? Perhaps this weren't for me after all. But what it's really saying is that it was just a preference. It wasn't really a dream. It weren't really a desire. So ask yourself these questions and then know the reason why. So when you meet the obstacle, you can say, no, what kind of a person does it take to become, to get over this obstacle? And it's not a person who would just sit down and give up. So now when you're in this thing, you see the problem or something, you've got a different attitude about it. Instead of running away, which you might have done in the past, which is why we're living the life we do now. But now we're facing it and saying, nah, this is not going to beat me. What I'm going to do is, because the kind of person I've got to become is a person who will overcome this obstacle. So when you see your wall in your way and it says, well, you've got to go over it, say, no, I'm going to look for another way. So whether I go around it or whether I go underneath it in this instance. But what it's really saying is that your thinking is different. So you're not just going to sit there, run into the problem and give up. It's because you've got your goal in your mind, designing the life that you want. So now the problem is still the same problem, but what it is now, it's meeting a different person, because you took the time to adjust your thinking and you're not just letting any old thought come in. So once you come up against that, and that's what makes the difference between people who succeed and people who don't, is simply because of the way that they are thinking. And so you'll know the way you're thinking, that as soon as you meet the obstacle, you'll soon know whether that is a desire in your heart, where it's a real passion, or it's just a preference. You can say, do you know what, it weren't that important. But obviously, you've got to make those decisions yourself. All right, that's the end of this lecture. See you in the next one.